Good evening, and we have the great pleasure tonight to have Kathy Gallino with us. She is the head of the Calaveras County Economic Development, and rumor has it you're just making it rain money for the county, right? Are you doing your best, right, just to make it rain?
Just doing my very best.
So what's the latest in economic development?
Well, from the grant perspective, we've been able to acquire $4.3 million in grants.
Wow, very
both
nice.
for small business as well as housing and a home buyers program.
Now these are grants, so it's not a loan. This is actual just stimulus, right? I mean,
Most of it is.
Okay.
There's a component. There's a $500,000 piece that will be a revolving loan fund for small businesses at a 2% interest rate.
wow.
So those loan programs would be up to $100,000 for our small businesses, repaid over 30 years.
Okay. What types of businesses can apply? I mean, is it targeted to specific industries or anything? I mean, what types of strings are tied to
Attached to it? Well, they have to have had, it's all related to COVID relief funds.
Got it.
So they have to have had some impact from COVID, closures, equipment, loss of revenue, sales,
Right.
employees. So
Right.
it covers a pretty wide range of folks, as well as nonprofits. So I'm really excited about the nonprofit piece.
Got it. On how has the county, how have we done on COVID? I know, it's, a lot of the big box, things, retail that was big box centric and everything else, those all did well. But, we're more small mom and pop. I mean, how have we done? I mean, overall.
Well, we've done pretty dang well.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that is due to reaching out to the business community, working with our chamber, our small business associations, finding out what the needs are, and kind of pulling together. And then we have the buy local program.
Right.
So that got pushed out, which is really big. And
For those who don't know, what is that?
so there actually is a website that's called Calaveras Buy Local. And there's also the Small Business Assistance Center that's located at the Chamber Building now. And then they can contact me for any kind of resources they need.
Yeah. One of the things is I saw some stuff on is several years ago that just people may not realize is American Express did that survey when they're, shop small type of stuff, and they were saying that they'd done research that as much as 67 cents of every dollar spent at a local business can stay in that community. Those percentages will change by class of business, whether it's retail or purely service where virtually all the money could stay there. But I just thought that was fascinating where people don't realize that, that money stays here.
It does.
It's different. I mean, if it's an Amazon purchase or whatever, I mean, virtually all of that is just gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone.
So,
It's very important. And, buy local is really important. Also, you can't get everything that you want here, but you'd be surprised how many of our retailers, like Oak Savannah, for example, in Valley Springs, if they don't have it in the store, they'll order it for you and they'll have it there in 2 days.
right.
So it's just as
Right.
good as Amazon as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, and I'd rather spend my dollars local.
Yeah. I think one of the things is sometimes that people who are new to our area don't realize as well is in a rural area, our small businesses are infrastructure. If you're in a larger metropolitan market, if a small business goes out, you can just go down the street to a chain store or something like that. Here, especially in some of the upcountry counties, like if it's a local auto parts store, the hardware store, I mean, that's infrastructure.
It is.
It's just, now what's for people who are familiar in your Bailey work, what's underneath, you got all kinds of stuff underneath your Bailey work.
I call it the three-legged stool. So the biggest thing is, keeping our businesses here and thriving.
Right.
Also helping them expand. We actually did have some business expansions during COVID, which was pretty impressive. And then helping startups or people that are looking to locate to Calaveras.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece. The second piece that's really, really important is housing. We find, obviously we hear it all over, housing's a shortage, housing's a shortage. And if you have a lot of people in the service industry, such as in restaurants and retail,
Yeah.
their employees won't stay very long if they can't find a place to live because it's
Right.
not worth it.
Right.
So working on a lot of housing projects, as well as I had mentioned, for home buyers.
Right.
We have a new program now that we're going to be rolling out in collaboration with our planning department and our Health and Human Services Agency, where we will give up to as much as 80% of a down payment
Wow.
for a home buyer in Calaveras.
Wow.
So
Now,
that's-
is some of that constrained by we don't have homes that would be in the price range that would work for, I mean, what are some of the constraints we're facing on that?
You've seen it, home
Okay.
prices are through the roof.
Yeah.
So you may have, a great job and you may have great income, but getting that piece to put as a down payment can be challenging sometimes because you have to have cash down.
Right, right.
So it'll help those folks, hopefully in the workforce.
Is there a dollar value that is a cap on that? Is it up to a $400,000? There's no cap.
There's no cap.
Okay. Wow.
Obviously, the borrower would have to, be vetted and make sure that they need, number one, they have to have the need.
Right.
Number two, it has to be viable so that it'll pencil out and work out and that they will get the down payment assistance and then be able to move forward with closing and moving
Very
on.
cool. Very cool.
It is exciting.
Yeah. and that's in place now. People can use that
We're rolling
now?
it out. We went to the Board of Supervisors at the end of December.
Okay.
And so I'm working with Lee Kimball. She's our housing coordinator who works both planning and HHSA, Health and Human Services. And so we're working on rolling that program out. And then we also have a program for those that are developmentally challenged and need some assistance as far as grab bars or equipment in their homes so that they can stay in their homes longer.
Got it.
So that's
Got
a really
it.
cool program too.
Now that ends up, I think people sometimes will realize that sometimes things like that can actually be fairly cost effective because if you can keep them in their house, overall costs are still a lot less than they would be in some type of
In a
living.
facility living, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, those that have been in their home want to stay in their home. I don't think they really want to go anywhere. So,
Yeah.
and it's just not an age demographic. It could be any age that has a disability, a
Yeah.
disability or has something that precludes them from being able to stay in their home, so safely.
And one of the things that I know that has been and that you've had in the news lately is that broadband, people can't now, jobs are different, if you don't have connectivity, what's happening in the local broadband
A
front?
lot. Let me tell you, a lot.
All right.
So there's another grant. So we have a $500,000 grant that we're in partnership with the 5-county region. It's through the Central Sierra Economic Development District. So it encompasses Amador County, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Alpine, and Mariposa. And so we're writing a broadband plan right now that will help us identify where we have connectivity, where we don't have connectivity, who those providers are, because sometimes they won't tell you. They don't like to give up where their stuff is. So that's been an interesting challenge, but we're working with NeoConnect, which is a fabulous consultant, and we're going to be developing that roadmap. Hopefully we'll have a draft in the next few weeks.
So even some of the providers hold some of that close to the vest, okay.
So it'll really open up competition so that
Yeah.
we know what's where and what's not, what's available, and to develop that roadmap and then back that up with another program that we're working on through the rural counties of California.
Oh, is it an RCRC?
It's an RCRC
Okay.
project.
Okay.
So then we're actually going to be working on getting funding to actually put fiber in the ground, working with the providers. Some will be fiber in the ground, some will be above ground, some may be satellite, because there's some places that it just doesn't pencil.
Right.
But our
Right.
plan is to do both middle mile and last mile and get everybody connected.
So you would, so I don't know if I'm asking this right, but as the federal government opens up some of these funding portals for the broadband stuff that they're talking about now, would that flow through you then, as far as then on out to the local providers, or how is some of these grants?
So
I probably worded that horribly.
no, I
but,
get it. I totally get it. Grants are kind of a unique language in themselves and just trying to understand, because federal governments are different than state, that are
Yes.
different than.
Yes.
So that was the piece that we'd probably be using Golden State Finance Authority. They would be the financing piece. The county doesn't want to be a bank,
Right.
and we just want to be kind of the facilitator and then provide that information to our community so they know what choices they have, what the costs are.
Right.
Because affordability is a big, big issue.
Yes, it is.
So we
Yeah.
have to make it affordable.
Yeah.
It's going to be a process. I mean, it's going to be a couple of years.
I
And yet
guess
they're still doing pieces like right now the Highway 4 corridor is hot.
Yeah.
The Highway 4 corridor in above Murphy's and then at Copperopolis, because that's where the trunk lines are.
Right.
And then getting
Right.
those connections and then getting them out to the various housing communities.
And then you have some really, here locally, we have some good, the local high-speed wireless firms that are pushing some of the connectivity out that way as well, right? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. We've got Conifer Communication here
Yeah.
in San Andreas. We've got Volcano,
Mhm.
Upcountry in West Point, and they go all the way over to Amador County.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some great internet service
The
providers.
one thing on Volcano I thought was fascinating is that, people don't think of lots of times this, but, areas like for West Point, Volcano was saying that they can deliver gigabit fiber in West Point now. So most people don't realize ironically, some things like West Point may be one of the best connectivity
Exactly.
areas in the
Exactly.
county.
And what the goal is to have 10 up and 10 down. So it's,
Right.
and that's,
So if you can add a bunch of zeros after that, it's even
better.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah, fast stuff. Airport. How is airport stuff doing?
Airport's doing pretty good. There's some work that's going to be going on. I'm working on about a $2.5 million grant there to resurface our runway.
So that you were able to help get the funds?
Well, I'll find out next Tuesday.
Oh, you'll find out next Tuesday. Isn't that okay?
So I have an item going to the Board of Supervisors asking for permission to get the grant funding. What's great about FAA grants is they cover 90%
Wow.
of the construction costs, which is huge.
Wow.
And then our California Department of Transportation, Aeronautics, they cover 5%. So the county's share is only 5%.
It's only a 5%.
And so, yeah, and it needs to be done. It's a great airport. I love to go up there and have lunch with our airport manager, Kathy Zancanelli.
Yeah.
She's a crack up.
Yeah.
And the other piece that we're looking at is we want people to stay. People fly into our airport because the gas is pretty expensive. They fly in, or they're local. But what we're wanting to do is get potentially some rental cars there, whether through Enterprise or Zipcar or something, so people can fly in and stay.
Right.
Go spend the day in Murphy's.
Right.
Go hiking.
Right.
Go biking,
Yes.
and do different things and stay. So it's an economic driver.
Or even for business stuff, if they're scouting a location that they bring some business here or something, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, another piece of that is our film commissioner. So we, under the Calaveras Visitors Bureau, our executive director, Martin Hubbardy, is also our film commissioner for Calaveras County.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people.
And he has
that
no
plan-
background in that industry at all, right?
Well, he does.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was going to be nice. Yeah, so he's got a huge background. And, we've had local artists like Manuel Crosby, who
Right.
just won a Sundance Award. My son went to high school with him. But people fly in
Yeah.
on their private planes, and they want to see a tour. Calaveras is beautiful. It's a great place to film. We've done a lot of film in the past,
Yeah,
but we've let it go. We need to bring it back.
we do. We need to bring it back. It's how I know you on the general, because you talk to the other local counties as well. Is how have we done in comparison to our neighbors as well through the COVID thing? Have we done pretty well?
We've done pretty dang well.
Okay.
So when you look at like recovery of employment, when you look at those types of indicators, we've done pretty well. We're right in the middle. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And, our county to the north, Amador, they're really close to Sacramento, so they seem to pop up a little bit quicker.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
Our unemployment rate's really super low. It's like 3.9%. We're lower than the state average.
Where do you see going forward? Where do you see some of the opportunities for us? I mean, as far as really, where do you see some of the opportunities for the county the next 3 or 4 years?
Entrepreneurship, it's a
Okay.
big thing. So COVID, we're not going back. It is what it is. We've learned to adjust and adapt. One
Yeah.
thing I've seen is we've had a huge increase in business licenses. And see, I thought, well, why? Where are they? They're not brick and mortar.
Right.
They're
All virtual
entrepreneurs at
stuff.
home. They decided not to go back to work, working for someone, but to start their own business. Sometimes out of their garage, sometimes online,
Right.
sometimes traveling.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. We need to really encourage that entrepreneurial growth, and then hope that they grow into a brick and mortar.
What segments have you seen? What segments have they seen growth for the business? I mean, is it all of them, or what do you see? I mean, what?
Everything. Like I had a call today from a person that wanted to start a goat business that would provide like landscape, fire retardant, brush,
Yes.
clearing,
Yeah.
the natural way. So I mean, people that are like they have goats are like, I don't want to work in an office. I want to do
herd
this.
goats. Yeah.
A lot of things in the service industry, especially financial advising, why go somewhere to do financial advising when I can do it from my home?
Right. Right.
Obviously, anything tech-driven,
Yeah.
anything tech.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, it's just been a whole gamut of things.
And we have more tech up here than people realize, huh? I mean, there's a lot more up here than people realize. It's, in fact, there's been a lot of times that, there's more of a Silicon Valley presence up here than people, because sometimes they want it that way. They want to kind of hide in plain sight a little bit rather than,
It's a quality of life. People
Yeah.
want to live here. It's a great
Yeah.
place to live. I mean, our resources are rich, our history, our culture. It's a great place to live.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the city and work.
Now, look, how many years have you been here now?
I just hit my 4-year mark.
4-year mark. Now, where did you come from? Have you been here? Were you here before? Or?
So I lived here like 27 years,
Okay.
but I worked for Sacramento County, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
So
and I
you commuted?
3 hours a day. And what was great was Calaveras County in 2017 created this position.
Right.
And I interviewed and I thought, wow, this would be really cool. And they hired me January 2018.
Yeah, very nice.
Love it.
So you were able to bring some of the knowledge you'd had from the larger markets and stuff here, right?
Yeah, but it's totally different here. I mean,
Yeah.
I was able to take some things, but this is such a unique scale. I mean, it's scale and it's also the unique opportunities.
Right.
So, working with our wine industry, working with, our manufacturing that we need to bring back. And we
Yeah.
have property available, so that's another
Yeah.
part of my stool, my 3-legged stool, is finding those properties that we can really market and target.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have like a meat processing plant, but we should.
We should.
have a bunch of cattle.
We should, yeah.
It's really cost ineffective to
Yes.
have to haul your cows somewhere to be
Oh, because
processed.
there's even been some horror stories when they, after the fair, when they have to do the meat sale. I mean, it's to have a rural county that doesn't have a local processing. It doesn't.
And there's other markets that are similar to that where
Right.
we need to close the loop. We don't need to have leakage. We should be able to do everything right here in Calaveras and save our
Yeah.
money here, keep our money here.
A little back to the home ownership, because I'm practical. If somebody's watching this and they want to get out of the Bay Area and they want to come up here and they get a job, but what would be the process of trying to get one of those home ownership grants or
You
assistance?
need to be a Calaveras resident first.
For how long?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Okay, so you just basically you need
You have to be a Calaveras resident.
Okay.
It's not to entice other people to come in, but it's to entice
For
our own
residents.
people.
Okay. Is it a process that they need to work through their real estate agent, or they need to come to you? How do they do it? What are the practical steps?
Yeah, they would basically come to us, and
Okay.
we will be marketing and be rolling out a bunch of like town halls to let folks know, up country, down country, across Calaveras. And then those that are interested in taking it up, well, then we
Okay.
would work with their lender.
Okay. Are there any, I know every county has been getting increasing pressure on housing affordability stuff. What are some of the things, how does that all work into, it doesn't, or is it just,
It's an open market. I have
Okay.
no control over price.
yeah,
Just my personal opinion is it's not going to stay like this. It never does, right?
Right.
We always go through
it always,
peaks and
there's a
valleys.
cycle. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
buy low, sell high.
yeah, of course. I guess go to about, now have you worked, how's the wine industry, are you working with any of the wineries in Murphy's on expansion stuff, or how is,
Expansions and new ownerships. I mean,
Okay.
there's a few projects that have gone through or in the process of going through that, wineries are changing ownership and wanting to expand or wanting to bring in partners. We also have a distillery, which we haven't had
yeah.
before. That was a fun project. That's Hinterhouse Distilling. And
Did you help in some of that?
Yeah,
You
with
did,
Bonnie and
good.
Nate.
Yeah,
they're
Very
great
nice.
people, great
Very
business,
nice.
great liquor.
yeah,
And then we have a new hard apple cider facility in Moke Hill. That's exciting.
now, sometimes people don't realize those are manufacturing jobs. It's, you always think the wine tasting, but it doesn't just magically appear. The product has to be made, it has to be, it has to be processed, bottled,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's really neat because they were able to take advantage of a building that was pretty much set up. It was the former Renegade Winery location. And so it was already pretty much set up for them. They just
Was that like Renegade's old location, the one that was on the
It was on,
The west,
26.
the west side of 49.
Right.
Yeah, not the downtown.
no, not where they are now. Their new
Right.
location is fabulous. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've been in there, but
I
it's
have.
great.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah. So that's gonna be hard
Hard cider, hard apple cider.
Very
And they want to
nice.
source their apples locally.
Close the loop on that a little bit. I guess a little bit that's come up. I don't know if you got involved with this at all. The cogen plant up in
Chips?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on that project.
You are okay.
So we're looking at, obviously, we know that we have a lot of dead and dying trees in our
Yes.
forest, the fire hazard. This is all things we know. We need to be able to process that locally. And I really hate it when I see all these logging trucks coming from Amador through Calaveras, through Tuolumne. We should be really sourcing or taking care of that locally. So I am working with a couple of investors that are looking at developing a cogen plant, as well as being able to process the lumber, because some of it is still viable.
Now that one got approved, right?
Yes.
So that one is now what stage is? So people don't know. Is it with the old lumber?
It's an old lumber-
yard
Right.
facility up in the West Point area. They're looking at putting in a cogen
A
plant.
cogen
right?
plant. So basically, the part of the tree that can't be utilized for lumber
Right.
then gets basically incinerated, and it creates power that gets fed to the local grid.
And also, if I'm correct on this one, is some of the fire damaged trees that are no longer good enough to be used for lumber, they can still be used for cogen stuff, right? Isn't
absolutely.
that- Okay.
And then
So-
can even take it farther. I mean, they're looking at technologies now, because we also have a lot of other debris that's
Right.
not just wood, it's not just trees. So we have brush, we have, chips, pine needles, leaves.
I don't know if this one, maybe we can go, because you may know more than I, but when I watched, the board, when they went through that a few weeks ago, the one thing to me, it's inevitable though, there was the opposition from a labor group out of the area that was opposed to it, that appealed the approval, so to speak. What was that about? Do you know anything?
I don't really know much about that side of
Okay,
it.
yeah.
What I can tell you is that there are oftentimes environmental groups
Right,
from out of the area
yes,
that I don't know why, because to me it's a clean process, it's a environmentally needed process.
yes it is, yeah.
So I don't know what their rhyme and reason is.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was like, okay, this project checks almost all the boxes you could ever
Not to
want
mention all the
for-
jobs it's going to
Yeah,
create.
but I mean, as far as in a rural area, we have, we need to reduce fuel loads, this does all the reducing fuel loading, all the rest of that stuff, and it was, yeah, I mean, I was glad to see that it was approved, but to me, it just seemed like, really, we're gonna,
That's been the issue. That's actually what stalled the project for so long.
okay.
So, I don't know anything about the lawsuits or all the
Right,
hoo-ha.
right, but that just seems like it comes out of, I mean, it just does. Now, do you work well with the chamber, the city? I mean, let's do a little bit geographic, and what's, the four quarter, let's say, what's happening in, say, in the city of Angels right now? Anything exciting?
A lot of stuff. They've been doing
Okay.
a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
especially with, their business development
Yep.
district.
Yep.
I work well with Debbie Ponte. She's kind of the me of
Yeah.
Angels Camp. They've got their Habitat for Humanity project, which is going to bring in a lot of homes.
That's
a really cool project.
And for those who don't know, that's one of the larger habitat projects in the country, right? Isn't it, for what they're putting?
think so.
I think it is, yeah.
I think so.
What's the details on that? How many, was it like 125?
It's 125 or 24 units.
Okay.
And it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be, walk to work type environment. It's going to be affordable. It's going to really help bolster.
So people who don't know, that's going to be kind of behind and north of where Tractor Supply, isn't that where it's going to be? Isn't that
That's the area.
the spot? Yeah, okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's a great project. A lot of things going on in Copperopolis. We've got, the Copper Valley folks that, purchased the former Castle
Yes.
Cook property.
Yes,
They've got great plans. They just opened up the Gateway Hotel not too long ago. I don't know if you've been there, but it's pretty cool.
it is pretty cool.
So lots going on there, and they've got more plans for building into.
Now, there was also, there was a subdivision that was going to be right adjacent to have they brought that back up yet? Has that brought back up to start moving through I know that was kind of the nail in the coffin for Castle and Cook before they pulled the plug, because that one, I think, it actually wasn't the fault of the project. It got caught up in the the county not having an actual general plan thing, where you had a structural deficit that anybody who wanted to drive a stake in any development project could do so, and they did, but it seems like that one should be brought back again.
Yeah, so that project was really interesting because we worked very closely, obviously, with planning
Yeah.
department
Yeah.
to preserve those land entitlements, because they have entitlements for like building 1,200 homes.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
so make sure we preserve those.
I know this is kind of a boring esoteric one, but I'm thinking the Copperopolis one is most people don't know is see some of these infill developments that they check all the boxes, that it's not expanding the footprint of the area or anything. But one of the things is Copperopolis needs some more development by the Copperopolis Town Square, because when they first built the square, there wasn't going to be enough effluent flow to put sewer lines between there to the processing center that's basically 3 or 4 miles away. So until they get another project built, last I heard, it's still on a holding tank, so they have to pump effluent and truck it down there into the processing facility until they get enough residential dwelling units adjacent to it to be able to make it flow. So
I don't know about the trucking part, but I do know that part of the process is when you put in your units, you pay a connectivity fee. And
Right.
then that money goes to help expand and develop the plant.
yeah, but for many years they had a weird
Yeah,
they had a weird thing.
I don't know about the past. I only know
know it's
about
not
the last
really
4 years.
Yeah, but there was a lot of, you think about, it's, anyway, all right. Because, all I'm saying is sometimes when people kill projects, there's ripples that they don't expect on why at least part of that project needed to go forward. Just, I think we
Infrastructure is a big deal. I mean, and that's another part of, what I coordinate. I
Yeah.
coordinate with like CCWD and some
Yeah.
of our sanitation districts. Because as you have business expansion, you're going to have bigger needs for infrastructure, right?
Yes,
And it's expensive.
yeah,
And that can preclude, development or business expansion. So there are grant funds out there. We collaborate with our utility providers. And, we try to support each other. We have to support each other.
yeah. Thanks for what you do. We're down to our last couple minutes. Tie a bow on it. If somebody wants to do some economic development here, how can you help them?
Just call me. I mean,
All
I
right.
can help you through the permit process. I can help you through the land entitlement process. I work really well with all of our directors at the county, the planning director, public works, building. You have an idea, you want to do something, you want to know what you can do.
So for all the departments, if they hear that Kathy blessed it, it parts the
No,
red.
let's not go that far.
Parts the Red Sea. No.
No, but I certainly, I love working with people and I
Yeah.
love working with our county. I mean, we have great folks working there.
Yeah.
And they're all very business minded. They are business friendly.
Yeah.
So if somebody has a problem, call me.
Thanks for what you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending some time with us.
Sure, thanks.